Is that better? Yeah. So, hello everyone. How are you guys doing? Good. So my name is Shenan, Charania, as Winston mentioned. And I want to start with an experiment, if you don't mind. So I'd like everyone here to try and become angry, sad, or anxious without thinking about it. And if you can, please raise your hand. I have never been able to do that. And everyone I've asked that question to has never been able to do that. So I'm going to park that there as I do my speech, and we'll come back to this. So this talk is on mental health and my discoveries throughout my life in my experience of going through mental illness and mental health, which I think are completely different from each other. And so my story really begins when considering what we're talking about. It begins at age 11 when I came here from Kenya, where I was born, and I experienced a lot of bullying. And I didn't know why, because I liked me, and the place I came from, everyone else liked me. But I was facing a deep culture shock. I talked differently. I was now in a country where I looked differently. I dressed differently. So when I got bullied a lot, I just did not get it. And little did I know that as I was getting bullied and as I was doubting myself, I started to have these thoughts in my head, which were telling me, maybe there's something wrong with you. Maybe there is something unlikable about you. Otherwise, why would people not like you? That makes sense, doesn't it? If somebody doesn't like you, there must be something unlikable. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to be likable then. What do I need to do? And with those thoughts, my life began in a journey where I started to become a real people pleaser, right? Like me, where can I belong? What do I need to do? And as time went on, as I went into high school, 13, 14, 15, I got bullied more until I came to a point where I just didn't know how to react to it, so I became aggressive. And as most of you, might have seen, that everyone at some level gets bullied. What was really fascinating to me was that people that were getting bullied were reacting differently. Some people I remember there was a girl in my class that was getting bullied, and she was literally like, do what you want, I'm going to school. And she continued. Some people really became introverted. And some people like me became really aggressive. I can't take it anymore, I have to fight this. So I started getting into lots of fights. And as I got into fights, I started to hear some people cheering me on. Yeah, good, stand up for yourself. Well, here was my cue. This is something people like. So I started doing it more and got into more fights. And the bully became the bully. And as I went through my teenage years, very fast and very deep, I got involved in drugs. By the time I was 14, looking for a sense of belonging. By the time I was 15, I dropped out of school. By the time I was 16 and 17, I was deeply involved in a gang-related lifestyle. Guns, drugs, you name it. Shootings, everything. And by this time, I was so caught up, I just couldn't see anything outside of it. I had created this image in my mind that I was living now. Right? I wasn't born a gangster. Nobody is. And that continued till I was about age 23 years old. And I won't go into the details of all the violence, but there was a fork in the road in my life where my parents' house was shot up while they were inside. And I kind of went, wow, this is what it's come to. Me looking for a sense of belonging has brought me here. I mean, in hindsight, I could tell that, not at that moment. But I started to really wake up out of that, and the following years, I covered that at best of my ability to try and get out of that lifestyle and get grounded in some sense, and try and make a civilized lifestyle of what I have just went through and what my experience has been. So I got odd jobs here and there, all the while trying to hide this from people, because if the job found out what I did, oh my God, right? I didn't know how to be civilized, so I continued, getting fired from jobs, quitting jobs. I didn't know how to be in the civilized world. And there came a point when I wanted to get into business. I was about 26 years old. Now, I laugh at this because I wanted to get in business because I was too arrogant for people to tell me what to do. I want my own business. I want my own schedule. So my girlfriend at the time, who was gotten out of university, said, you should get your own business because then you can be your own, you'll have your own motivation, so to speak. You're not working for others. I said, yeah, that's a good idea. Again, in hindsight, I think she was saying, you're so arrogant, you should have your own business. And so I started to work at Tim Hortons because we looked at Tim Hortons and we wanted to buy a Tim Hortons. And there was really no way a 26-year-old with absolutely no financial history, no credit history, a resume that's half a page long, is getting a Tim Hortons. So I started working at a Tim Hortons, and I did all the work from the bottom, putting on a hairnet and serving coffee, and did all the steps from becoming a baker, midnight shifts, supervisor, assistant manager, and a manager until they approved us for our own Tim Hortons. So I opened my own Tim Hortons in 2011, and I thought I had reached the peak level of success. I have this cash cow in front of me that I'm an owner of, a nice place to live, nice cars, and most importantly, I was out of that life, right? I had made it. Not many people can say that. What was really fascinating after that was I didn't realize that I was harboring all these feelings and emotions that I had never visited. So along came confusion, and confusion led to depression. And I just couldn't understand what was going on inside of me. So I started looking into it, right? Became a little bit reflective, introspective, and investigated why I'm feeling these feelings. And everything led to what they call PTSD symptoms, right? I was getting nightmares. I was lacking a lot of self-esteem. I had insomnia, and you can look the rest up. There's a whole list of them. And all of them fit. So I went to the doctors, and they said, yeah, well, if you're living in that lifestyle, it's not butterflies and rainbows, PTSD. So I went on this journey now of trying to figure out how I can get out of my own misery. And that journey led me to more research of how I can get out of my own misery because I was miserable. About a year later, so this is around 2014, about a year later I ran into the work of a man that had some profound and very simple insights of how the mind worked that I was not seeing anywhere else. A man named Sydney Banks. And what he was pointing to was a very simple truth about the mind that I had missed in all of my research. And what that was that the mind is actually designed to be perfectly healthy and intelligent and creative and resilient. Now, when I ran into this, I said, I don't know about you, but mine is not. And so I started looking into it more because it was very, very simple. And most of all, I wanted that, right? Who doesn't want a creative, intelligent, resilient mind? So as I looked into his work more, I started to see what he was pointing to and started to get a deeper understanding of it. And what I discovered in my own ways was that when I was thinking my way into my misery, that's when I would try to fix it. And when I wasn't thinking of it, I would be perfectly fine and connected to the present moment. I'd be perfectly fine and healthy. And I just did not see that until I understood it. I want to give you an example around this. I was on my way here, and while I was traveling here, I started thinking about what I'm going to speak about, how many people there will be, how many people I won't know. And guess what happened? I started to become really insecure. Right? But as soon as I got here, I met this lovely lady, and we had a conversation. And all of a sudden, I was out of my mind and in the moment again. Feelings of connection, clarity. Everything was present. Now, I never noticed the simple fact that was happening in my life every single moment. Because I was busy waking up and going, you know what? I have to fix myself. Let me think of all the misery that I went through, and then I'll fix it. And I would spend my day that way. So I was never connected. My relationships suffered, my work suffered. After discovering these insights, I went even deeper into the work. And the next thing I saw, well, before I tell you that, I would really like to ask you a question actually, is I'm sure everyone here has felt those feelings, right? Connection, presence. We have, when we're not thinking of things, then we feel automatically connected to the person in front of us, feelings of gratitude. So my question is, has anyone ever tried to do that? Has anyone ever said, I'm going to make an effort to feel connected, and then got there? Or does it just naturally occur? In my experience, it always naturally occurs, and then I notice it. Everyone I've asked that question to says, no, it naturally occurs. I don't know when it happens. We don't do gratitude. We don't do feelings of connection. We don't do resilience. You don't do anything about it. It naturally occurs. So why is it that many people are not living in this space? And so the next discovery, as I was saying, was that I started to see how the nature of thought works. Now, in my research, the more I started to look at thought, the more I started to come up with the content of my thinking, right? What am I thinking, and how do I solve it? And why that was so frustrating for me was I didn't realize that I'm using more thought to try and see what I'm thinking. Whereas Sydney Banks's work started to focus on the fact that you think, not what you think. Just the fact that you think makes it so simple. Remember I asked you a question earlier. Try and become angry or sad or anxious without thinking about it. And you can't, right? So this simple fact, observable fact right now with evidence that you have participated in, suggests that our feelings actually comes from our thinking and not from our circumstances. And that was a really big insight for me, because it gave me evidence to see that my past does not exist, but if I think of the circumstance, I get those feelings. And if somebody says hello to me, I'm automatically present with them again. Or sometimes, no, wait, I gotta think about it first. So this simple and profound understanding completely changed my life. And I'm so grateful for it, because it helped me realize that if I went down the path of researching more PTSD and getting in a world of trying to solve it, versus realizing that those symptoms that still happen are part of the mind, are part of my memory, that are coming through from thought. Now we all know thoughts are illusions, right? We all imagine crazy stories with thought that never really happen. So now, with this understanding of how the nature of thought works and how the mind is naturally resilient, I'm able to participate in life with much more connection, presence. I'm happy. And when I do get those thoughts that come back, I can look at them as just thought, and they pass much faster. And as far as my feelings of insecurity go, as far as my feelings of low self-esteem go, well, after seeing that my feelings are created by the thinking that I'm doing in the moment, they lost all their power. Not to say I don't experience them. Like I said, I was insecure today before coming here. But it doesn't have a hold on me anymore, because I don't start to pin it on my circumstance. I don't start to say that my insecurity is because of the event. It's not. I haven't even got to the event yet. It's because of my thinking about the event. And that changed everything. So in closing, I would like to read a quote from Sydney Banks, actually, which says, "Every human being is sitting in the middle of mental health. They just don't know it." Thank you for your attention.